My name is Riccardo Neri, based in Italy, Roma. I'm a film producer, 56 years old. And the story starts quite a while ago when I was 20, at the end of my school, after 1 year in London to learn my English language and some travels around when you're so young, you don't know what to do. I decided to start in the film business as a PA, thanks to my mom, because from my mom's side, my grandfather was a key grip of the neorealism of the Italian films. My mother was an editor. Was an editor. She retired, and my aunt was a production secretary, and my uncle was a gaffer. So let's say that from that side of the family, I have my food since when I was young was cinema.
So were you on set a lot as a kid to kind of see like everybody kind of doing their thing?
No, actually not so often, but the fantastic memory that I have, I was living with my grandparents because my father and my mother were quitting very often their relationships. So every time they were quitting, I was going back to my grandparents' house for like 6 months or a year, whatever. And they were living very near to Cinecittà Studios. And my grandfather was working with Federico Fellini. He was doing Amarcord. So one Sunday morning, I was like 7, I think. He took me to see the studio where in the backlot they built a huge cruise ship. So he said, let's take a walk and we go and see the cruise ship. So we went inside Cinecittà and was the first time I've seen something that to the eye of a kid, it's unbelievable. Like a huge ship, fake, empty, without water, just built in the backlot. And so I was, amazed by this la grandeur, by this incredible fake ship. And on the way back home, we were walking in the studio towards the exit. We heard a voice calling my grandfather. It was Fellini. He was there because he was going to Cinecittà every day, even on Sunday. So he was there. He met my grandfather. Said, "What you doing here?" And he said, "I took my nephew to see the building." And he took my head and he said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 7. And what's your name?" "My name is Riccardo." "Okay, nice to meet you. I am Federico Fellini." That was, I think, the benediction
Where it all started.
Here, because it's so that was my, let's say, my family root. And then when I was 20, after my return from London, I've been in the army for 1 year. That was mandatory at that time. And then my mother said, "Why don't you try to start on a film of a friend of mine? He's a director, so you can go like a PA, like a production runner." I started and I never quit. Actually, I did all film by film. I was a PA, then a production secretary, then unit manager, and then I had an incredible opportunity in '97. At that time, there was the most famous executive producer in Italy. It was a woman. Her name is Laura Fattori. She was like the arrival point for every guy or girl working in production. Everyone wanted to work with her because she was like the point of reference of every international movie coming to Italy. And I knew her name and I was saying the dream, who knows if one day Laura can call me to work. So I was working on I had an incredible opportunity through a friend to work on my first international film. That was A Portrait of a Lady. Jane Campion was directing. And one person that was working in production there came to me and he said, you are very good. You have the right timing. You speak very well English. So I think I'm going to talk to Laura and tell her that you exist. So if she needs anyone, maybe she can can call you. 6 months later, I got a call from her. She was in Morocco working on a Scorsese's movie. And she was very straightforward. She was terrible. Everyone wanted to work with her, but on the other end, everyone was afraid of her because she was like, you remember Devils Wears Prada?
Yeah.
Exactly like Meryl Streep. So I got a call. She said, I am Laura. Somebody talked about very highly about you. I'm making a movie in Morocco. If you want to join, this is the salary. And if you want to come, let me know in a couple of days. Thank you. Bye-bye. Click. And she put it down. So I was like, she called me. And so I replied the day after saying, okay, I'm ready to go. Just let me know what to do. And I went to Morocco and I spent 7 months there working as a location manager on this Martin Scorsese's film that was Kundun, the one about the Dalai Lama. When I got there, I was very shy. I was not talking to anyone and a bit afraid of her. And then after a couple of weeks, she came to me and she said, so I want to make a test with you. I send you on the mountain of the Atlas mountain in the north of Morocco, out of Marrakesh. There's a very difficult location to prepare. Go there and do your job. Let me know. I want to see what you can do. So I was alone. I went there. I was like crazy, trying to make the best location possible. When I got there, it was 70 kilometers driving from Marrakesh, where I was overnighting. There was nothing. In the middle of nowhere, up to the mountain, this tiny village where we had to build a construction. So I got there the first time with a local location manager, and I realized that to go up, the only way was ride donkeys. So I jumped on a donkey and I said, okay, let's go and see, touch wood. And I started, and it was like 15 or 20 minutes by donkey, but it was like this, it was very steep. So you couldn't go walking. I did it once and I was dying. So I went up. It was an incredible place, but thinking how to bring the construction, how to bring the crew, the actors, and Martin Scorsese. So I started to think, how can I make it possible, funny, and also realistic for the time we have. You get there, you need to start filming in an hour, you have to bring everyone up and blah, blah, blah. So the village was like maybe 150 people living there. It was very, very small, the one below. So I went to the imam, that was let's say the owner, like the mayor of the village. And I said, I need everyone working for me. No one excluded. Everyone, every donkey, every woman, every person working for me. So instead paying individually every person, what the community needs. And he said, well, actually we need water. Okay, and where is the water coming from? He said, from there, and he pointed a corner in the high to the mountain where there was a kind of a lake. So I said, okay, I went back to Marrakesh. I met a person that was doing this kind of work, bringing water with pipes. And I said, can you make me budget? Can you estimate how much time you need and how much money you need to bring the water from the lake to this village that it was called Imlil? He came with me the day after and said, this is like, I don't remember, it was something like $18,000. Okay, let's do it. And in 10 days, they had the water in the village. And then from there, everyone was working for me. So I had like 45 donkeys. Every house was open for us to cook. The ladies were cooking, the kids were helping. The men were doing labors, they were doing painters, whatever. And in 3 weeks' time, I had all the construction coming from where the unit was up to the set. So when they got there for the shoot, Scorsese came to me and said, you are the location manager. I said, yes. How do I get there? There's a donkey for you. Prepare for Martin Scorsese, so it was different, was all decorated. I put Martin Scorsese on a donkey and he went up, we shot, and at the end of the shoot, it was only 3 days, he went to Laura and he said, this guy knows how to make movies much better than me. thank Martin. When we came back to Italy, Laura called me and she said, okay, you can become my production manager. And from there, we made 3-4 movies together, 5 movies together. And then I turned into line producing, and then after quite a while, executive producer. In 2004, I decided to open my company because I was working for producers, but I was also, the ambition was to become a producer, of course. So I started the company, and for 5 years, actually, I worked as an executive producer for other producers and with my company. The beginning wasn't easy. That is never easy, especially working in Italy, where apart from being a very good one, you have to have a lot of connections, sometimes political, sometimes, like lobbying or something like that. So it was difficult at the beginning because I didn't have any, actually. I knew how to make movies well, but my only expertise was budget for a movie and finish the movie in budget without going over. But I didn't know how to find money, which is the relationships and blah, 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 the tricky things. So it was quite difficult at the beginning, but everything went well, besides from, the first 5 or 6 years where I was struggling a little bit. But now I'm happy because the company is well positioned. We're doing a lot of things,
And how did you get through those first 5 or 6 years? Because I know when you start a new company, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, well, we did some commercials. The company was very small. I had one secretary with me. The office was very little, which is, we were spending the money we had. No investments, no nothing, just looking for. And then we did one interesting documentary that had been sold worldwide. And from there, I can say that from there, it grows little by little, year by year, until 2015 and 2014. And then after 2014, we started collaboration with big studios, big directors, big names, big projects, and now I have to say, we're fine. Sorry, we've been lucky that in 2010, 2012, in Italy, we have this incredible tax credit that works very well. So it's an attraction for foreign companies. And so they come. You don't have to look for them. It's different. It's a bit different.
And, when you were first starting out your company, was there any big obstacles you kind of had to go? I know not financially, but on sets or anything that happened to you that you kind of had to figure out?
No, because actually my expertise when I was on set, I knew exactly what to do. Me and my team. I can say, I don't want to, talk of myself like a great producer, but budget and set, running a set, it's my real expertise. I know exactly what to do.
So at that time, you were like, I knew how to run a set. The business side of it was the new thing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And is there any time in filmmaking that you just didn't feel like it was for you, that you were going to maybe give up on kind of this and kind of move on to something else?
No. Never.
And what advice would you give to new filmmakers starting out?
Depends. Filmmakers means directors and producers. To film directors, I advise them that they have to ride the market request, even if they are authors, especially at the beginning. They have to be very smart in intercepting the request of the people, the studios, the producers. Because you may have the best film written or the best story, but the first answer you receive is that, yeah, but it's not the right time. I'm not saying your film is not good, but it's not the right time. People don't want to watch this kind of movie now. So that's my advice. Try to be on the shore, on the wave like a surfer always, because otherwise you go underwater. To producers, more or less the same. What's happening, let's say from the pandemic, there was a lot worldwide, a lot of request of contents, a lot of work, a lot of new upcoming producers are born. Just because the content are just a crazy request from all the platforms, all the streamers, televisions. So everyone is doing becoming producer, becoming director. And I think, and I still think, that this business is something that you learn in the years, not in the month. You learn in the years by making movies, by working with different directors, different producers, different actors. Because after you make 3 movies, it doesn't mean that the 4th movie is like the first 3. It's different. So every movie teaches you something. Every director teaches you something. And a producer must be also a psychologist. A psychologist. You have to know, because the directors are, I wouldn't say fragile, but they are, even the biggest, they are people that need somebody else to say, this is correct, this is right, in a different way. Because if you want to impose your vision to them, you become an enemy. You have to be smart enough to just tell them something, like you don't want to, it's not your point of view, it's just what do you think if you leave it there? Because 2 days later they come back, say, you know what I thought? And they tell you exactly what you told them 2 days before. So it's like you have to be a psychologist. You have to be. And how do you learn this? By making movies, by working with different directors, by experiencing movie by movie after movie, movie after movie. How do you have to, to navigate in this craziness? So don't run, don't go too fast. That's my advice, because if you make two movies and then you say, I see younger producers that sometimes they come to my office saying, we're looking for a co-production, we have this and this, and I say, okay, and then do you have this? Have you considered this? No, we haven't. But we didn't happen before. Okay, when before? Oh, well, in the last 3 years or 4 years. Okay. It doesn't mean that the last 4 years are the Bible, You have to train and train and train. It's more like an athlete, a sportman, whatever. You don't become the best football player just playing 3 years, or a best boxer by boxing 3 years. You have to build. So that my advice is learn, be humble, be curious. You have to ask. If you don't know, you have to ask. Don't be shy. Don't feel stupid asking, what is this? Why this? If you don't understand, ask again until you don't get it. Because once you get it, it's yours. That's my point of view.
And my last question is there any movies you're producing coming up? What are you working on now?
We are working on a docufilm in Italy, an Italian docufilm about a very tough story of a real guy who's been, he wanted to be a football player when he was 11, and he started, and he was very talented. But unfortunately, he met one, not trainer, but one coach, who was a pedophile, and he has been abused for like 10 years by this man, and his life changed completely. And then there were many. It's not only the abuse, but all the impact on his character. Yeah. So luckily, this guy now is very well. He has 2 daughters. He's training a kids team. So he never left football. He wants to tell his story with his face, his voice, his name. So we're doing. We are editing this. We are working on a couple of production service, one English and one American, and developing one TV series and one feature film that we would like to do next year. And also what I do every year, because I really think it's something that every producer should be obliged to do, to produce 2-3 short films every year, because that's where you find the new talents. And that's what we're doing. We're shooting in Albania, one short and one in south of Italy these days. They actually wrap tomorrow, both of them. They are 2 young directors. So we dedicate some financial resources, not much, but some financial resources and some time to them. Because, for example, the film we're doing next year is directed by a director that we have produced a short last year.
That's awesome. And that was all the questions I really had. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate it.